right, now, Barbara, let's go back, if we can, to the $80,000 mortgage at 9.5% and see how this factors out on a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage. On the 30-year mortgage, you're making monthly payments of $672.68, and you come out with a total of $242,164, of which interest was a lot.
That's right. Our total interest there being $162,164. That's assuming that the loan is paid using the regular monthly payment over the full 30-year term.
And then at 15 years, you get it seems like you get a much better deal if you can afford to pay more in the short run.
That's right.
So you're going up from $672 to $835.38 for a monthly mortgage payment, which gives you total payments of $150,368, of which less than half is interest, and you have savings over the life of the mortgage of $91,796. That raises the question, is there a trend towards 15-year mortgages?
A very strong trend, very strong. And a lot of borrowers now are finding that they can keep a mortgage payment that's in the ballpark for what they are paying right now. And so it's a payment they're comfortable with, and yet they can pay it off in half the time, just as one of our examples showed.
Yes, but in a 30-year mortgage, do you have any data that shows how many people actually stay in a place that long? Don't most people sell earlier?
But the appeal of the 15-year mortgage is also that the equity builds up at so much more rapid rate.
But isn't another downside of it what about the tax deduction?
This is true.
So the tax deduction is greater on a 30-year mortgage.
Right.
If that's more meaningful in your particular situation, then that's certainly a consideration.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the other problems associated with what seems to be a very rosy picture in real estate right now. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back talking about refinancing mortgages and this real estate situation that's going on right now. And Barbara Bernardini, what about prepayments? Under what circumstances are those permitted, and are there penalties associated with prepayments?
Well, by law, under the state of Illinois, there can be no prepayment penalty on a loan where the interest is over 8%. So since we're nowhere near that threshold right now, I think it's very important that people realize that they're free to make additional payments to reduce their principal balance as they can, and that, as we saw just with the example of our 15-year mortgage, where the higher payment benefited so much over the life of the loan and built equity a lot faster, that an individual can do this on their own without going through the expense or inconvenience of refinancing by simply making an additional payment towards the principal.
Do the lenders like prepayment?
The lenders do like prepayment because it does accelerate the cash flow back to them.
Are there circumstances in which you shouldn't even consider prepayment? Would, again, the tax question
that would be about the only situation, right, if the tax benefit to you is greater than the benefit of prepayment.
All right, now, Ms. Rasko, can you tell us about whether or not these adjustable mortgage rates are more or less attractive in this marketplace today?
Much less.
Why?
With these low interest rates. So many people feel that they'll never see these rates again. So why not lock into 15 or 30 years rather than for the ARMs, which had such an appeal when the other rates were so high. There isn't that much difference now between the two.
Is money going to dry up?
Oh, I hope not.
I don't I don't anticipate that. What it would require would be a reacceleration of inflation and a tightening up of monetary policy by the Federal Reserve, and neither of those are on the horizon.
We hear about those of you who make mortgage loans being so overwhelmed with business that you're going out and hiring people, new people are coming in, you're having to train them on the rush. Are there any dangers which we can experience as consumers because we're dealing, say, with less experienced people doing the paperwork?
Of course, we've been lucky at our organization. We've been able to handle it with our skilled staff that we have. But I have encountered it in other organizations where people felt that they were dealing with someone who was confused or wasn't really knowledgeable. And I think the customer simply has to be aware of that and to ask enough questions until they're clarified to their satisfaction.
And are the lawyers finding enough time to deal with this? What do you think? I mean, what's your sense about that?
I think it's a very busy time for everyone, but I think they are handling the workload.
All right, with it being this busy then, what should people who are refinancing a mortgage expect in the way of time to deal with this paperwork and to actually get it through? Normally, you're lucky if you can get it through, say, in a month, right?
Now
what do you think?
Now we're lucky if we get something through in 45 days.
What about getting an appointment even to talk? Is that a problem today?
No. In the contracts we write, we're putting in 45 and bracing our buyers for the seller saying we want 30, but it's not practical to put it in as 30. We really know it's going to take us 60 days to get a mortgage approved. And with that, the best thing for both buyers and sellers is to accept that it's going to be longer. It's tough on sellers.
We have some bidding wars going on, don't we?
Well, to take a house off a market for 60 days, not knowing whether or not the mortgage is going to be approved, is asking a lot of a seller. And we do have, yes, we have bidding wars.
Tell me about
those. It's more like an auction when you have a house that is so well priced for the time that 10 people are going to see it as soon as it's on the market, and they all come in and they want to buy it. So ultimately there will be some variation from one contract to another. Usually maybe it's not price, maybe the seller wants a particular closing date that's convenient for him, and so he will take even a lesser price. But the bidding simply means that the seller can turn down an offer that's within 1,000.
Yeah.
And then some other buyer may come in and say, I'll add 1,000 beyond, and that it does sometimes happen. Usually, though, what happens is that there are many offers, there's so many variables that the seller's going to take the one he likes best, and usually it will include the best price, but there will be other things in case the two people are offering the same price.
Herb Neal, in about 40 seconds that we have left, are people going to have a false impression of lasting value where we've seen appreciation go up 10, 12%? Will that come down, say, as we come into deflationary years or low inflation years?
Well, yes, I think you have a special circumstance running right at this point in time. It is that money is available, that interest rates are coming down, and so there's all kinds of activity. This is tending to drive up home prices. And after we get through this spurt, I would expect that the rise in home prices would be much more moderate, because basically our inflation rate is down.
And we're out of time. I want to thank this panel very much. Happy mortgage hunting, everybody. I'm John Callaway. Good night.